Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. In today's episode we are getting that A-pillar welded up, and we're also doing some body work on the bonnet and the rest of the 110. So it turned out to be third time lucky for our A-pillar, because once I got down to the body shop, we had a little bit more of a look at what the details were in here, and it was decided that it would be better to fit the larger Brit part replacement A-pillar, which also had the body mount on it. So all that was done professionally. So shout out for Dan from Access Body Shop, just around the corner from us. He really did go the extra mile getting this done nicely, and it turned out there was a lot of little tricks. I mean, I really enjoy watching someone who knows what they're doing with their craft, because you learn so much. So he actually did a really nice repair in this panel here. So it was all cut out to suit, so it's no overlap, it's just purely welded in. That was a really nice job. He got it all flattened off. We also got the A-pillar in place. Everything was welded in. Now, we couldn't spot weld it, or it was deemed unnecessary to spot weld it. The best course of action turned out to be to actually puddle weld this in place. Now, you've got seam on this side and a seam on the inside on the back, and we had to drill obviously through that mount and puddle weld every little bit. So from the front section here behind the wing, that was actually done from the inside, and then from the outside here on this seam here, it was welded in, and he's flattened it all off, and honestly you couldn't tell it was done. And I think you guys knew all along the best thing to do was to repair that properly. I mean, yes, we are potentially still going to be doing the bulkhead, because, you know, we did reveal quite a lot of corrosion in this area, and we addressed it all, and I can't imagine the other side is going to be far off this condition. We're probably only looking sort of a couple of years, and it's going to need doing anyway. So I think we'll get ahead of the curve on that one when we do the bulkhead. Now, because we're going for a full respray, all these rivets have got to be drilled out. We've got to remove the hinges. Now, these tend to be seized quite well, but I've got some WD-40 underneath, some penetrating oil. Oh, 1 out of 6. That's a shame. Now, the nice thing is, because it's got loads of WD-40 in there, it's cutting in nicely. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that actually. You can just see where we've managed to get a nice feathered edge without it splintering. So what I mean by that is, well, there's a little bit in there, I don't know if you can see that, but you can just see where it's not feathered, and I can feel it with my finger, so that'll have to be worked back a little bit more. But everywhere else, maybe this bit here, seems to be pretty good, and that's what you're looking for. So while I'm doing all this sanding, I should mention actually that this is just a traditional off-the-shelf, you know, Screwfix or B&Q orbital sander. So this particular model I've had for quite a while, and I bought it myself, and it's worth mentioning. So it's an Erbauer, it's a brushless. I've got a few of these tools which you can share the batteries with, so I'm sure you've got something similar, but this is man enough to do the job. So in the past I've used an electric orbital sander, a proper one dedicated for body work. They do oscillate a little bit faster, but if you're just patient, and obviously if you're not doing it day in, day out, because it's not your job and it's a hobby, you can get some really nice results with these. So, you know, you don't have to spend a fortune on specialist tools. You should be able to use a lot of what you've already got in your workshop or in your garage. A little trick I was told by a body repair guy that I trust is always use etch primer on the metal first before you start applying your filler, because otherwise you'll find it will stick better, because filler's not generally designed to stick to raw metal. So we're going to put some etch primer on here, only on the exposed pieces that we've burnt away, so not on these high spots, you know, where I haven't taken any material out. We can just go straight over with the filler on that. But where we've gone down to the bare metal, we're going to put some acid etch. I've tried to be fairly sparing with the filler, because as I was just having a conversation with one of the guys here, we don't want the vehicle to look perfect, because this is a DIY job. And I say we don't want the vehicle to look perfect. Obviously, if it's within my abilities to make it look perfect, I will. But there's no point going over you know, meticulously so it looks like a brand new panel, because we don't want that, because it's a nice working vehicle. It looks the part, but I do want to make sure that none of that sort of reaction, the metal blistering, I want to make sure that everything sort of, once the paint's on there, it'll stay on there and look good for a long time. Quite happy with it. Got a couple of little spots on there. Just in here, there's a slight line, and there's filler here. Look, it's not feathered out well enough. So let's just take that back. So let's get some high build on there and see what happens. Well, that's the primer done, the high build primer done on the bonnet. It's not perfect. I can still see loads of scratch lines and, you know, little pinpricks and stuff, but it's a good base to work on. So once that's gone off, we'll leave it overnight, let it go nice and hard. We'll come back tomorrow. I'm going to get some 1200 and some 1400 probably grade paper, wet and dry it, try and smooth it off and get it looking nice. Probably another coat of high build primer, and then we'll be ready for the actual final primer coat to go on before we enamel it. So yeah, it's a slow process, but this, as I said before, is probably the most complicated wing or body panel on the vehicle. Everything else, you know, is fairly flat and fairly simple. Now, this has got a lot of contours to it, so it was always going to be a little bit tricky, but really pleased. And I think when it's on the vehicle, it's just going to look superb. So it was a massive amount of work, and it took us about 4 or 5 days to get everything to this stage, and that's why we're a little bit behind on the video, because I was making the most of the weather outside. So I've got a bit more sanding down to do. I'm going to be treating everything, making sure that I can get it as good as the bonnet. So yeah, it's all coming together. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll be trying to get the vehicle painted. I've got a trip to Ali Sport next week, where we're going to be looking at the details for the custom dashboards that they're thinking of putting together for the sort of non-motorsport customer. So plenty to go at, and it's just a case of getting it all squeezed in. So for now, thanks for watching. If you like what you saw, give us a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you on the next one.